Welcome to the Toastmasters Experience. My name is Evelyn. Get inspired by today's Toastmasters Insights. Enjoy the show. And welcome to another episode of the Toastmasters Experience. I'm excited and delighted to have Jody Dontje on the airwaves with me today, and she is calling in from Bali. So I'm very excited to have Jody. Welcome, Jody, to the show.
Oh, Evelyn, thank you. It is an honor to be on your show, especially tuning in from tropical Bali is always a plus.
I know. Gosh, I love Bali. Oh, God, good on you. Now, we're going to get straight into it. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about Toastmasters, and we're going to talk a little bit about your life in Bali. So looking forward to this interview.
Good.
So what motivated you to join Toastmasters? What clubs are you currently in, and how long have you been a Toastmaster?
Oh, great question. So it was back in 2018. I had just returned from Nepal. I actually had done a 5-month charity project there. And we were doing work with helping women to speak up about injustice that was happening in their local communities and empowering them to start projects. And we were partnering with local clubs. And I heard about Toastmasters and I thought, oh, what a great concept when I learnt, more about it. And then when I came back to Australia at the end of 2018, not long after that, I joined Toastmasters. And so I'm currently part of Flinders Lane Toastmasters Club in Melbourne, Australia.
And have you joined a club in Bali?
Not yet. I was going to because I was wanting to compete here in the international category, but I actually decided for the first time in almost 7 years, I was going to take a break. I was going to, take a little step back in terms of competing. So I haven't yet joined a local club, but I am in contact with 2 clubs and most likely will be joining them if I decide to stay here long term.
I've just done a little bit of research on you, and I know that you were doing some speaking sort of gigs when you were living in London.
That's true. I was doing speech contests and I was speaking in different platforms about the projects I was doing in Nepal. Yes.
How does that work, comparing that to Toastmasters?
Yeah, well, I mean, Toastmasters is more of a platform to really learn to grow with speaking, learn to be part of a community with speaking, practice speeches. And what I was doing in the UK was very much contests specifically that were aimed around women only and helping, women helping women in certain countries with different charity projects. And also with the work that I was doing in Nepal specifically, I was speaking in Parliament House and at different events that were around charities. That was more charity focused. And that was more about just putting myself out there with the projects I was doing, whereas Toastmasters was more about growing as a speaker as well as being able to speak. So, I really enjoyed joining Toastmasters when I got back to Australia.
And what has been something in Toastmasters that has surprised you about the organization?
Oh, what really surprised me was the amount of love that I received and support. My mentors and the club believed in me so much. I truly believe that's the reason I was able to win so many different district titles and also go to the world stage of public speaking twice, was because they believed in me and they encouraged me to do the contests. They encouraged me to keep trying and to keep growing. And that really surprised me because I had done a lot of public speaking, as mentioned, in London and Nepal and different countries, but I hadn't been part of a speaking organization, like feeling that community amongst speakers. And so Toastmasters really did give me that gift.
It sounds like that you have been pretty much speaking for most of your life, or you're not that old, but you know what I mean. It sounds like, did Toastmasters, do you feel like hone your public speaking a little bit better?
It took it to another level, yes. You're correct that I was public speaking for quite a few years before joining Toastmasters, but I hadn't yet identified myself as a speaker per se.
Okay.
It was more just, oh yes, I public speak to share awareness around the charity efforts and to, put myself out there and share a message that matters. But I hadn't identified myself as a speaker. And after joining Toastmasters, it really helped me to own that identity. And it really made a big difference in my life, actually, in terms of really taking it more seriously in terms of this being a craft, being a skill set, and was able to really push myself, especially with the speech contests, to reach edges that I didn't even know existed when it came to speaking, because speaking in the Toastmaster speech contest was very different than speaking in what I did for business or what I did for charity. So it was a great, yeah, great opportunity to grow.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to hear what the difference is when you were speaking for the charity and for your business. What is the difference when you compare that to Toastmasters?
Yeah, I feel like Toastmasters had its own flavor, especially in this certain contests. I really had to think about the judges and what are they looking for and what are just those key aspects that are going to allow me to get over the line when it comes to the judging criteria, right? Whereas with my charity and with my business speaking, that was more intuitive. That was
Mm,
more just following what was coming up in the moment and just allowing myself to be very aligned to the specific message I was wanting to share in that moment to the audience. Whereas with Toastmaster contest, it was very much like, okay, I've got to sit with who might the judges be and who is that specific audience of Toastmasters, and making sure that the speech, if it's in international category, it's a complete prepared speech. Obviously, I'm not just
hmm
getting up and speaking intuitively. I'm speaking very much from a prepared space.
hmm
And the other contests like table topics or evaluations, that has its own formula as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely something to learn when joining those contests.
Now, just out of the contest, because I know that you have done the international, you've been a semifinalist twice. The other contests, though, evaluation, table topics, and humorous, have you also competed in those as well?
Yes, I competed in table topics and evaluations,
Hmm.
but I did not compete in humorous.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I found that a completely different category that I knew would really require me to hone into different skills. And I thought I was really focusing on the other three contests. So I
Right.
decided I'm just going to focus on those three instead of the
Right.
fourth one. Yeah.
Now, so you joined 7 years ago in Melbourne. What made you, or can you remember? I don't know if you can remember, but can you remember your very first contest speech? Like how you were feeling and how did you prepare?
Oh, yes. So, funny story. The first ever Toastmaster meeting that I attended, I did not know was a speech contest night.
Okay. Uh huh.
So I joined and I was like, what's table topics? Right. And I guess, mentor, who straight away took me on and took me under his wing, was like, you should give it a go. I thought, oh goodness, I've just joined Toastmasters. I have no idea what this contest is, but that's fine. And there was over 20 participants. We had a really big club at the time. And I just thought, I have no idea what this is, but let me give it a go. I'm just going to show up and be authentic. And I won.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely shocked.
Oh, that is insane. Oh my gosh. Okay, go ahead.
Insane, insane. I was like, how? Like,
Uh-huh.
what is going on? And then I was like, oh, there's more levels. Okay. So then I did area and then I won that. And then I did the next level. And then I was able to actually win the district championship that same year at
And
Table Topics. Yeah.
wow, that is absolutely insane. Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Sometimes it just happens. People just seem to join and
Hmm.
the universe aligns and they end up winning all
Yes.
these competitions. So first in off the bat, you're in a competition. So you must love Toastmasters or what was it that you thought, wow, competitions. Did you get the bug then after that first competition?
Yeah, definitely. After the table topics and then obviously going all the way through, right, and winning district, I thought, huh, this is kind of fun. Like this is great. But I was still hesitant about doing it again the next year. But my mentor just said, do table topics again. And actually, this year, do evaluations.
Hmm.
And I thought, oh, okay, evaluations, that's a new category. Let me give that a go. And ended up winning all the rounds right up to district as well. So
Wow.
that was
Wow.
also, yeah, such a confidence boost and was a big learning experience. And then that really inspired me because I received the first time I joined Toastmasters, I received a newsletter in the mail, a physical copy. And it was the first time in history that three women had placed top three. And it was the year I joined Toastmasters. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is so inspiring. These women being able to represent their country, be on the world stage, like what a dream.
Mhm.
And after a few years of competing in table topics and evaluations, it came the time that I had completed my level 2 of Toastmasters. And my mentor was like, okay, it's time. Go for it.
Mm.
Try the international category. And this might sound a little bit overconfident. And I would agree that back 7 years ago, maybe I was after winning all those contests, but I was thinking, oh, well, surely I'll just go all the way through with this one, just like I had with the other two contests. And of
Wow.
course, the universe had to humble me, which was part of my lesson and my learning. But I did win club, did win area, but I didn't win the next round. And it then took another, a couple of years before I was able to win district and finally go to the world stage. So that was a very humbling experience, and I loved it.
Wow. Because I know that even if you win district, you still have to go through a process of them choosing you.
Yes.
That's how. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't realize it worked that way because I know the person who won our district
Mm.
last year, he didn't go through, and then someone explained to me how it works. So how does it work?
Yes. So our video is recorded at district level, and
Hmm.
that video is sent to our region. And the region, the judges online will watch the videos and they will allocate and choose two representatives of their region to go through to the semifinals world stage. Basically, the speech we give at district, we want to do well at that, not only to win district, but because that is the video that will then be sent to the next round as well.
Okay, okay. And
Yes.
and so you've been really lucky because you've gone over there twice. So what years did you go over there?
Yes. Yes. So I think I have to think about this now. I went last year, which was
Hmm.
2024, and then I went in 2022. Yes,
Okay.
to America.
Okay, so 2022, where was that at?
That was in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And that was a great experience to go to Nashville. Never thought I'd visit there. So that was great. And then 2 years ago, oh, not 2 years ago, sorry, last year in 2024, I went to Anaheim, California. So that was pretty
Yeah.
special.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, fantastic. I actually went as well. So and I was able to see your
Yes.
see your speech. So that was
Yes.
really exciting. Now,
Yeah.
I want to ask because I'm quite curious. I've interviewed Furzy and I've interviewed Roger, and to
Yes.
asking them like, what speech do you decide to speak at the semifinals? Because obviously you might not get through.
Mm.
So I always think maybe the semifinal speech is probably the best one, and then the one you actually do on the world stage is probably not the most practiced. So, what speech did you use for the semifinals, and what speech did you have like under your pillow just in case you got to the next level?
It's a good question. It's one of the big questions that a lot of semi-finalists ask themselves. Do I do the speech that I really want to share on the world stage? Maybe that is the semi-finals and they want to do that on the finals or whatever else. But essentially there are rules around that too. But with the semi-final speech, the reason why often people say the semi-finals are actually even better than the final speeches that people give is because often the semi-final speech is the speech that someone has started at club level with. And
Mm,
every contest, they've gotten better, they've remembered it more, they've tweaked it, they gain feedback. And so that is a long process of going
mhm.
through all these different levels with the same speech to get it to a stage that it could even reach the semi-final stage. And therefore, when they give that speech on the semi-final stage, it's like second nature. It's a speech that they've really given a lot. And that is often recommended to give that speech just because it's been practiced more. The other side of that, though, is it is important to have another really great, solid speech in case we go through to the finals, because there's nothing more stressful than making it all the way through the year to the semifinals, winning the
Mm.
semifinals, and then going, oh my goodness, what do I do on the world stage of public speaking? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, I had a speech the first year, 2022. I was not as prepared. My mentor was telling me, you have a good chance to go through. I really recommend that you have your final speech written. There was just so much going on in my business and in my life that I didn't write my final speech until I found out I had made it to the semifinals, which only gave me a 5 to 6 week period to
Oh my
quickly write
gosh.
my speech,
Hmm.
practice it, get it all sorted. And that was stressful. So the second time I got to the semifinal stage, I was way more prepared. I really had my final speech in mind and had already practiced it quite a few times in case that I wasn't stressed in that 5 to 6 week period before the semifinals.
Yeah. Now, just a question. Like when you do your semifinals, do you have to let the let Toastmasters International know? I guess the speech titles of just in case you go into the finals.
Yeah, so I would let
Okay.
them know my semi-finals title and I
Mm,
would let them know the main points. So we get a document that we fill out when we get to the semi-finals where we put the name and we put the intro, the middle, and the conclusion main dot points.
okay.
And then we also do that with the finals so that they know that it is unique, so that we're not using an old speech of ours or something else. Yes.
Or talking about the same topic, I'm
All
assuming.
the same topic. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. How did you prepare for the semifinal speech? Did you get a coach? Did you find a venue you could speak on that had a big stage, or how did you prepare?
All the above. I had a few coaches behind me that were looking over my speech, watching my videos that I would record of me delivering the speech. And I also practiced in different clubs to get different points of view and different feedback. And honestly, I just practiced it myself a ton in front of friends, in front of my partner of the time, in front of just people that I knew I could get a fresh perspective from.
Okay.
Now, would I take on all their advice or feedback? No, not necessarily, because I know at the end of the day, my intuition knows what is the most aligned tweaks and changes. However, a fresh perspective was great because sometimes I would not see something at all that they would pick up. And I thought, oh, of course, I didn't think about that. So practiced quite a bit. Yes.
And did you also, I guess you practiced both speeches, or did you practice mainly your semifinal speech?
Good question. I practice the semi-final speech more. However, especially as the results come out in that 6 week period, I would have had my last year, as in I had my final speech written already. But yes, I started to practice that more as well.
Mhm.
So it's a bit of an energetic game of not wanting to spread myself too thin and stress about having two speeches, but also understanding I want to have practice with both. So it was more the semi-finals that I was practicing. However, the finals I definitely made sure to have space for as well.
Okay, okay. I know you coach as a living. Is that correct?
Yes, I just had a drink of water. Yes, that is
Okay, no, no.
correct.
Okay, okay. So you've been, but you were a teacher as well. So you were teaching and coaching.
Yes, well,
Yes.
actually,
Hmm.
good question. So I was a teacher in London when I lived there for 2 years, and when I was doing charity work in Nepal, I was a teacher. So I'm a qualified primary and high school teacher, and speaking, because you asked at the beginning too, speaking was more of a side thing that I did to give back, to make a difference, to talk about injustice of the charity work.
Hmm.
And then when I joined Toastmasters and I had discovered coaching only about a year before I joined Toastmasters, I then realized, hang on, there are so many people who have a fear of public speaking. And I had gotten really confident at public speaking through my charity work. And then I thought, why don't I combine my expertise with coaching and actually teach public speaking? And then that led to a lot of success, which actually led to me leaving teaching. So I no longer work in schools, except for when I want to do non-for-profit, efforts and work. And now I teach, but through my coaching and speaking. Yes.
Wow, I love that. Now, just
Yes.
take me back a little bit. So you were born in Australia. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes, a
Okay,
first generation Australian. Yes.
first generation Australian. Where's your dad from, and where's your mom from?
So my dad's from the Netherlands
Hmm.
and my mum is from China.
Did you leave Australia at a young age to go to London and then find that you wanted to do charity work? Or was this something as you were growing up thinking, I want to do charity work?
Yeah, actually, so I went to London after I had already started my charity work back in, oh goodness, when was that? It was in my early 20s. In my early 20s, I went to Nepal. That was my first proper overseas country that I had gone to. And we did non-for-profit work there. We did charity work. And I returned back from Nepal and I felt like I was a completely different person. It changed my life. I had been very insecure in my confidence and held back my voice. Even though I was still public speaking, I still held back a lot. But after I went to Nepal, I found a sense of belonging I had never experienced in my life before. And then, not long after I got back, the earthquakes, the 2014,
Yeah.
that's right, 2014 earthquakes ripped through Nepal. And a lot of the schools and the people I had met, they'd lost homes, they were struggling, there was so much destruction. And the crazy thing is, Evelyn, I was born to help Nepal at that time because I literally had the earthquakes happen on my birthday.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And to me, it was a sign. My parents actually said it like, we feel you were born to help Nepal. How can
Wow.
you give back and help? And that was it. I started a non-for-profit movement. I fundraised tens of thousands of dollars with the help of my local area, and then started public speaking on all these different stages, fundraising money, went back to Nepal, started all these projects. And then I finished university. That was during university. And then I finished university, and my best friend said, "Why don't you move to London and we can start spreading word about your charity? You can get more teaching practice and skills." And I thought, why not? So then I moved to London.
So, what exactly did you do in London?
So I was teaching in different schools. I've taught over the 2 years, many schools. I've now taught in over 57 schools and had a lot of experience. But I was also part of this organization, which was where I was public speaking, called the Women's Federation for World Peace. And that was where I did a speech contest and I won. And I was able to be flown to Portugal to speak in Parliament there and in front of different representatives of different organizations about the work I was doing. And that was a huge changing point in my life too. To actually win a contest and be flown to a whole other country to speak was quite
Wow.
an honor. So yes, while I was in London, I also was part of that and was giving back and growing in that way as well, which was very special.
Yeah. Now, I bet the speech contest for the Women's Federation probably was very different to Toastmasters. I'm assuming.
It was very much just focused on how I got into the projects I was running in Nepal, and it was storytelling as well, but it was less being mindful of the structure, and it was more just sharing the different pieces. Whereas with Toastmasters, I very much have a certain formula that I know, even though there is no formula, but there is a formula, but there's no formula.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But there are these key elements that I
Uh,
know in Toastmaster contest specifically that if I have them ticked, that's going to really impress the judges. So it's a different playing field. Yes.
I know that you're in Bali now. Can you tell me a little bit about why you're in Bali and what you're doing in Bali?
2.5 years ago, I landed in Bali with my partner of the time. And done many speeches about Melbourne on the world stage of public speaking and in the different Toastmaster contests. And when we landed in Bali, I instantly knew,
Yeah.
my intuition told me, I am going to be moving to Bali. And Melvin, the beautiful man of the time, he would not have wanted to move to Bali. And I remember thinking 2.5 years ago, I wonder how this is going to work, that my intuition is really strong about coming to Bali, but this is the man that I'm planning to marry, like, and he doesn't want to move here. What's going to happen? And just fast forward, we really realized after 8.5 years together, our values just weren't aligned anymore. Our vision to what we were wanting in our life just weren't aligned anymore.
Mm.
And so that happened end of last year, actually happened directly after the world stage of public speaking. We made that decision. Just got back from America, and it was a wild ride in America, and just got back and we decided that it's time to start transitioning from that space of the romance into more friends. And that is what opened Bali up for me. I thought, I've been waiting for 2.5 years to land in this country and make this place my home. And so I, over a few months, got everything sorted, packed my stuff in storage, and now I'm living in Bali and actually being invited onto many stages here already. So
Oh, fantastic.
yes.
Excellent. So where do you live? Do you live in what, Canggu, Uluwatu? Where are you living at?
Yes, I'm living in Canggu at the moment. It's called Brawa, this area, and it's a
Okay.
beautiful balance between business, spirituality, health, and the people I'm meeting here are so conscious, so connected, and the opportunities that are opening up are incredible. Being asked to speak with women events, men and women circles, being asked to run workshops. I have so many downloads about what I want to do here. And this is partly why I've decided to take a break from Toastmasters this year, because I've just left a whole life that I had thought was going to be my life, right? And
Yeah,
then and now I'm
yeah.
creating this new chapter. And I just thought Toastmasters is a huge part of my heart. I will join in terms of the contest again, but I
Yep.
feel like this
Hmm.
is the year to just build other areas. Yes.
What is your business called?
Yeah, so Alchemy Queen is the movement that we're starting, and it's more focused on women now, although I do help men as well. And before it was Jody Dontje coaching, I was more of the brand, but now the movement is around alchemizing our life into everything we desire it to be basically alchemizing our voice into what we desire it to be, because alchemy means transformation, alchemizing our voice, alchemizing our lives, our relationships, our businesses. And I've been teaching this ancient work for quite a long time. It's completely transformed my life. I would not have reached the world stage of public speaking without alchemy.
Okay.
And so I'm very passionate about it. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's called Alchemy Queen because I focus more on women now, helping women to own their power as the queen that they are and to alchemize all those areas of their life, specifically around speaking and business.
This learning tradition, who taught you about this, or is it something that you've sort of developed into your own?
It is a combination. It's ancient wisdom that's taught by a select, kind of group of teachers in the world. Maybe I won't mention their names specifically, but there are these different teachers I've learned from in different programs, in different retreats, in different situations that have taught the depths of alchemy. And then I've made it into my own intuitive teachings. I've been able to combine it with different programs and skills and intuitive downloading strategies and pieces that I've learned over the years and kind of made it my own now as well. But yes, alchemy's been around for centuries and centuries and centuries. It's just old wisdom that we're bringing into the mainstream now.
And it sounds like Bali is the place to be.
The perfect place for this.
Yes.
Yes.
Are your workshops online, or do people come to Bali for these workshops, or how does it work?
It's exciting because of this new chapter in my life now. It's beginning to expand. My vision is expanding even more. Over the last many years that I've been running my business, I have 4 online levels. They're all online, completely online. People can do my programs wherever they are in the world. And I love that because then I get to meet people from all different parts of the world and help them. And it's great. What's happened now since I've arrived in Bali is I've been having a huge intuitive pull to start running more physical events rather than just online, which I've been doing for many years. And so, yes, I'm going to start running a lot more workshops in person here in Bali. I already have some organizations in Australia that are wanting me to run some things once I'm back in Australia. And there might be another opportunity in a different country. So I'm going to start expanding in-person events even more. And I will most likely launch this year or latest next year a retreat as well. So there's lots of combinations here of online and also in-person opening, which is exciting.
Does your program appeal to a certain age group?
Oh, I have one of the youngest people in my program was just turned 20, and one of the oldest women in my program was 64, I think it was,
Wow.
or turning
Okay.
65. So I have all ages. It's wonderful. I love it.
And when people join your programs, I would think the most important thing is to find their voice. Is that a fair thing to say, or what would you?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would word it as coming home to their voice.
Okay. Oh, love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way I work with speaking, with business, with alchemy and manifestation and emotional connection and regulation, how I teach is in a very holistic way. It's all about coming home to who we truly are, who we authentically are. Before the experiences in the past where people told us we should do this and we should be like this and
Hmm.
all the shoulds.
Yeah.
And helping people to go, well, actually, if I removed any of that external stimulus and if I was able to truly tune into what I desire of my life, of my future, of who I want to be, who is that person? And to come home to that and to feel confident in that. And from that place of authenticity, then we flourish. Then we speak with confidence because we know who we are. Then we succeed in career and business because we're more confident in what we stand for. And also, we just live a way more fulfilled and aligned life when we know who we are and we're connected in that way. So that's what I'm very proud about with the work I do, is that authenticity piece for sure.
Do you miss Australia?
I love Australia. Australia is a huge part of my heart, absolutely. Do I miss the winters in Melbourne? Not so much.
Yeah. Of course not, and I'm sure not in London either when you were over there. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Although London, it rained less than I was expecting. It was very cloudy, I must say, and it got dark in winter at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Uh-huh.
But it did rain less than I had this visual that it would have. But I've got to tell you, Evelyn, Bali is my lifestyle, my weather
Oh,
element for sure.
fantastic. You have met other people who are aligned with you in Bali. So I feel that you've probably met your tribe.
Yes, actually. So part of the work I do with alchemy, it's all about becoming really clear on what we desire, letting go of all the different elements and pieces and beliefs and energies that are no longer aligned to what we desire, and then taking the aligned actions to create that. And so I applied alchemy, which has been very successful in speaking and business. I
Mm.
applied it to relationships because I just left my family, my friends, my
Yeah.
whole community and tribe in Australia, right? I knew no one pretty much here in Bali. And so I thought, let me practice applying these teachings to relationships and community and tribe. And I cried just last week at how grateful I am. I literally have the perfect women's circle, this beautiful group of women who are safe, connected, vulnerable, but also doing epic things in the world. And then I have this beautiful, safe, masculine container and tribe as well of men that are able to support and hold me and co-facilitate events with. So I'm feeling very grateful, to be honest, in terms of tribe. Yes.
And so, in saying that, you've got all these amazing people around you. Are there any sort of resources that you can share with us? People you follow or podcasts you listen to, books that you've read that have really transformed your life?
Oh, there are so many. First of all, what started me on the journey of becoming a really good speaker was Brené Brown's work. Brené Brown's work, she has a TED talk called The Power of Vulnerability,
Hmm.
which that was the catalyst years ago for me to start telling my vulnerable story, which has then helped me become the authentic and vulnerable speaker that so many people then feel connected to these days. Before I used to speak from more of a detached energy, not really putting myself into the story. Whereas now I'm able to be very vulnerable, share openly about what's going on in my life to other people and on different platforms. So Brené Brown's work, The Power of Vulnerability, TED Talk, and all of her books are fantastic,
Mm.
really, really powerful. I also love, there's this book called The Secrets of Natural Success by William Whitecloud. That does introduce a bit of the alchemy work. And he is an incredible manifester and shares some really powerful insights that aren't as mainstream, but we're bringing into the mainstream. So The Secrets of Natural Success is a great book for those people who really do want to create their desires into reality.
Mhm.
That's also a great one. And I've got so many. Lewis
Yeah.
Howes, I love Lewis Howes, like watching his work, his interviews of people, so authentic, so beautiful. I love Brendan Burchard's energy. He's more of the hype guy and high performance. There's just so many people. Gabby Bernstein, absolutely beautiful woman teaching manifestation as well. Gabbo Mate. Oh, there's many.
Yeah, there's so many. There are so many. I always like to ask that question because you just never know. Sometimes people will hear something and like, oh, I'm going to read that book and it'll transform their life. So yeah,
Oh,
thank you. Yeah,
absolutely.
thank you for sharing that. What does communication mean to you?
Communication means radical vulnerability and allowing ourselves to be in rapport energetically with someone and with ourselves. And what I mean by that is when I think about communication, I truly believe true authentic communication is quite vulnerable, right?
Hmm.
Allowing ourselves to not only be heard, but allowing ourselves to hear other people and be humble enough to shift perspective. This is the
Mm.
heart of communication. Obviously, we can communicate and it just be banter or surface level things. Yes, of course. But when I think about the depths of communication, this is about vulnerability. This is about being radically real, speaking our truth, sharing openly, hearing openly, being humble, being open to different perspectives and curiosity. And for me, when we build rapport, how I like to call rapport is an energetic connection. We're energetically flowing with someone. We've opened this energy of flow. And so communication is about a flowing of energy between one to one or one to many people. And
Mm.
it's such a beautiful practice. Yes.
Do you have any sort of public speaking strategies?
Great question. Yes. I mean, there's so many, right? There's so many. I'll break it down into three pieces. One will be around how we manage our own energy and fears. Another one, perhaps around speaking successfully on stages, and another one about what can really bring ourselves to another level with communication and speaking. So the first one, public speaking is one of the biggest fears in the world. Psychology Today predicts that up to 70% of people have a fear of public speaking. People would rather be in a space really, really high up with spiders or even die. Like heights, arachnophobia, death, even rated lower on a lot of
Mm. I
case
know.
studies with with
Yeah.
speaking, right? So having tools to be able to connect to ourselves to manage the fear is really important. And two quick strategies to do with this is, number one is the work of being confident on stage starts way before the stage, way before. It starts when we are able to connect to ourselves. And I love to teach parts work, which is being able to connect to all parts of ourselves and feel a sense of safety with all parts of ourselves. So not hating fear, but knowing fear is a great part of us. And it doesn't have to be in the driver's seat, but building a relationship with fear where it becomes our friend, not our enemy. Same thing with anger, sadness, any emotion. If we want to be really great communicators and speakers, being able to know how to connect to our emotional world and therefore show up confidently in those moments we're going to shine is paramount. That's a really big piece. And another strategy is just before I go on stage, I do two things. One is breath work. I really connect to my breath and make sure that I'm in a parasympathetic nervous system state where I'm going onto the stage calm and very connected. So doing breath work is really powerful. But I also do this thing called emotional recall mindfulness, which is I recall emotionally and in a mindful way how I want to be giving the speech on stage, how I want each moment to feel like, how I want the audience to feel like. I mindfully recall that experience. So that can really support people who have a fear of public speaking and other pieces, is really intentionally connect to how they want to feel and be comfortable with their emotions, do the inner work around that. And really quickly, the other two pieces as well, to be able to be a great communicator on stages, it's knowing that it's not a monologue, it's a dialogue.
Love that.
Yes, because when we're just speaking at the audience, it's actually more of a taking energy. If we're having a dialogue with the audience, it's that rapport I talked about before. We're building rapport. We're having this energetic exchange. We can do that by asking questions, involving them in story, nodding the head, having them give feedback, or simply just speaking to their heart, knowing the audience and speaking to them really deeply. So it's it's not a monologue, it's a dialogue, right? And number three is to get really good at storytelling. Full stop. Like, storytelling is such a key way to connect to people's emotions, and emotion equals motion. If we want people to leave our speech, our presentation, our workshop feeling emotionally changed in some way and connected, storytelling.
And how did you learn your storytelling?
A lot of practice over the years. I had to get good at it when I was wanting to fundraise funds for our charity efforts, because it became less about me and more, well, actually, when we're speaking on stage, it's not about us at all. It's about the service and who we're serving. I learned that very quickly when I was developing in my early 20s with public speaking, and started just practicing different stories, seeing how it lands and what was too much information, what was too little information, and just practicing and getting an intuitive feel to that. I've also just learned storytelling through observing really great storytellers, watching TED Talks and hearing stories such as Chris Anderson's stage there, the TEDx Talks, TED Talks, and watching other speakers.
Now, when you went to the world stage, you did have a coach. How did you pick your coach?
Very intuitively. I know I keep mentioning intuition, but it really is one of my greatest strategies and gifts, in life. And I actually, it was Verity Price. I'll call her beautiful name out there to the, top of the hills, because she's an amazing woman.
Yeah.
And it was actually watching her speech. I was watching it live. It was in the middle of the night, right? Because they're different time.
Yeah.
And I watched her live and I just thought, wow. Firstly, I knew my values very well. So I knew as a speaker what my speaker voice was and what my speaker values were. So when I heard her speak, I just thought, like, values, tick. The way she communicates, tick. And her energy as a feminine speaker, tick. I was just like, she is a great woman. Now, she wasn't doing public speaking coaching. Fun fact, I was the first one that reached out to her directly after she won the world stage of public speaking and asked her to coach me.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. So you intuitively knew.
Yes.
That's amazing. Absolutely
I knew.
amazing.
And it was thanks to her help I got to the semifinal stage twice.
Wow. Wow. And I hear that from so many speakers who've gone to really high levels, is you have to get a coach. You just have to. You can't just, if you do get far not having a coach, you've been pretty lucky, I think. But if you really want to win, you've got to get a coach. I mean, it's been such a pleasure having you on this podcast. I'm just so grateful. For people out there who are listening, if they want to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yes, I'm on all social media platforms in terms of LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and have a website. I'd recommend the two best ones is my website. They can send me a message on the contact page, which is www.jodydontje.com. But my team and I are upgrading that website to actually encompass the new brand that we're stepping into. But that is probably the best place. And the second best place is I'm really allowing now the growth of my Instagram to reach more people. And it's already grown 1,000 followers in the last few weeks alone.
Oh, fantastic.
And I've only just started.
Wow.
Yeah, I've only just started the last few weeks to really start to use Instagram, because Bali, the hype is Instagram. So I thought, okay, let me do this. And so Instagram is my main hub now. Yeah, so they're welcome just to PM me. I'm happy to chat.
Now, Jody, I just want to ask one last question. What advice would you give someone who is considering joining Toastmasters?
Be willing to follow their heart and be bold, to be the best version of themselves. Toastmasters is a great opportunity to allow their heart to come on stage with storytelling, connection, tribe. And it also is a great place to be brave, to develop that courage muscle, to be able to put themselves out there, whether it's taking on a role in the club or actually doing the contest or just practicing the speeches in the contest, in the club, I should say, not the contest. Like that's a great way to be brave. And the third piece is it's really a place of being able to be the best version of self-develop. Don't go in a Toastmasters for getting energy. Just go in a Toastmaster energy of curiosity of how can I just be present in each moment? And by being present in the Toastmaster experience, they'll grow so much by default.
Right,
So
right.
definitely.
Yeah. No, I love that answer. Thank you so much, Jody. Is there any last thing that you wanted to say before I
I just
press?
wanted to say thank you for having me on. I'm honored to be on this podcast. You're such a great host. I love the work that you're doing, and thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks so much, Jody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your company. Please tune in next time to the Toastmasters Experience.